Welcome back to another edition of Mindset Monday here on the Arkitect Fitness YouTube channel. My name is Tony, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that you've probably never heard before. And I promise this is really groundbreaking stuff. Are you ready for it? Attitude is everything. All right, all jokes aside, this is probably something you've heard thousands, if not millions of times before. And as cliche as it is to say attitude is everything, there's a reason why so many people say it, and that's because it's true. And your attitude can play a huge role in your outcomes, specifically when it comes to making changes to your body. This would have made a great first topic when we launched the Mindset Monday series, but there's something happening tomorrow that made me think to do this topic today. And I want to talk to you about that. And I'm going to share a story that's very personal that I've never shared with anyone else before. So if you've been following this channel, you probably know that I actually have a pacemaker, which is an implanted medical device. It sits right here in my chest. Today's video is not about why I have the pacemaker or my story really. There's plenty of other videos about that already on this channel, but I do have to give you a very brief backstory to explain what this has to do with mindset and attitude. When I had my original pacemaker put in 2016, that was to remedy having too slow of a heartbeat. My resting heart rate was sometimes as low as 25. And I felt great after the pacemaker went in. After all, your normal heart rate is between 60 and 100 beats per minute. About 8 months after I had the pacemaker implanted, I started to not feel so great again. I was tired all of the time. It didn't really seem to matter how much I slept. I would sleep for 8 to 10 hours. I'd wake up exhausted. I'd lose my breath easily. I was getting dizzy when I would go from a seated position to standing. All kinds of weird things were going on. So I went to the doctor and they did some tests, and I found out that my heart's pumping function had been compromised. My heart was pumping about 50% of the blood that it's supposed to. Over the next year, the doctors had sent me on a wild goose chase trying to figure out the cause of my diminished heart function, not ever acknowledging the fact that it was the pacemaker that was doing it to me. I heard all kinds of theories ranging from lifestyle factors to genetics to rare diseases that were hard to test for. After going to several different doctors and doing a lot of my own research, we concluded that it was in fact the pacemaker that was causing this problem. The good news was, since we had identified the problem, we could change the type of pacemaker I had. The bad news was, doing that doesn't always fix the situation. They said it was about a 50-50 chance whether or not the treatment would work. And if it didn't work, that means I would eventually need a heart transplant. The reason I needed a pacemaker in the first place was because of an error that a doctor made on what was supposed to be a fairly routine procedure. After that, the pacemaker was supposed to be a simple fix to treating that problem. And now I found out that the pacemaker was killing me, and there was only a 50-50 chance that the treatment was going to reverse the damage that had already been done. And I will be the first to admit, this did not put me in a great place mentally. I had almost completely lost my faith in doctors. And because the prior two complications I had really low odds, I wasn't feeling too great about my chances of this treatment working to fix my heart failure. So I had the procedure done, I had a new type of pacemaker implanted, and the doctors told me it would take at least 2 months for my heart to remodel itself if it was going to happen at all. I can honestly say those 2 months from recovering from that pacemaker implant were some of the worst months of my life. I was almost certain that the treatment wasn't going to work. Every day I put myself through a series of tests to see if I was getting better. Was my stamina improving? Was my endurance improving? Was I sleeping more soundly through the night? Did I feel more energetic in the morning when I woke up? Were my feet swelling like they used to? Nothing seemed like it was improving. I overanalyzed every single detail of my life, and I was absolutely miserable doing it. And then finally the day came where it was time to retest my heart function. This is usually done with an echocardiogram. When you have heart problems, an echocardiogram is a test you're going to have done all of the time. I had had probably at least half a dozen up to this point. And when I went in for that appointment, I was in and out in 10 minutes. And I thought, maybe she just didn't do a good job. They usually take much longer than that. Anyway, I went about my business, spent the rest of the day having my typical pessimistic attitude about my health, sure that my time on this planet was soon to be coming to an end. And about 48 hours later, I received an email from my hospital's online messaging center with my test results. And the results were heart function, 100% normal. In that moment, I felt like 1,000 chains were lifted from my body. I felt like I could climb Mount Everest in that moment. I felt so good, both mentally and physically. It was in that moment that I realized how important having a positive attitude can be. Because just the day before, I felt tired, I felt exhausted, I felt winded, I felt lightheaded, just like all the symptoms I was having before when my heart function was decreased. But my heart function had gotten better. But I was so pessimistic about my health, it was coming out in a physical way. Our minds and our bodies are deeply, deeply intertwined. And the mental stress we place on ourselves can manifest itself in our physical bodies. It's not that my heart got better overnight. My heart got better slowly, which is probably one of the reasons why I didn't notice it so much. But I was being so pessimistic about my health that I was actually making my health worse. And once I saw those test results and I had hard, valid proof that I was better and that I was going to be okay, that's when I started to feel better. It wasn't when my heart had already healed itself. It was when I realized mentally that I was going to be better is when I actually started to feel better. Now, I'm not saying that you can just will off your body fat or will your muscles to grow. You have to put in the work. You have to exercise. You have to be sticking to a sensible nutrition plan. But you have to also be optimistic and positive about your life, your goals, and your body. What do people always say about panic attacks? I thought I was having a heart attack. In fact, the symptoms for a panic attack and a heart attack are almost identical, but one is created by your mind and one is physiologically happening inside your body. But to you, they're almost the same. That is how powerful our minds are. So if we look at the way that we feel and the power our negative thoughts and attitudes can have on our bodies, what happens if we flip that around and do it the other way? There's a saying that we have in weightlifting, which is, how you feel is a lie. And it's not that we don't care about how our clients feel. Obviously, what they're experiencing is important to us. But the point of that saying is, sometimes what you think you can do and what you can actually do are miles apart. So, for an example, let's say you were trying to set a personal best in the deadlift and you had 300 pounds loaded on the bar, a weight that you've never lifted before. You might think that you can lift that weight. You might think that you can't lift that weight. But you are either physiologically strong enough to pick that weight up or you're not. But if you tell yourself that you're not, that could negatively impact your ability to do so. Whenever you self-defeat or pre-qualify yourself, you're setting a limitation on yourself that doesn't need to be there. But if you set your limits super high and really go for it, you might not get there, but you'll probably end up closer than you are now. I'm Tony with Arkitect Fitness, and we'll see you for another Mindset Monday.